Welcome to Wednesday, June 25th, end of the month, end of the quarter, end of the half of the year coming up. A few people anxious. Today we're going to talk about Rivian and VW, CDK updates, and Target's new AI. I was thinking today when I was looking at this AI story that it said, I think it was this one, or maybe it was another story about the same thing. But it used the term GenAI, right?
Right.
Generative AI, but I was thinking like generation A, alpha A. Is it really alpha? Should it be generation AI?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're never going to know a world without like generative AI.
A world without it. You know what's interesting? And this is not giving away the story, but the reality is like, you look over the last few years and like these net new technologies that we all thought were just gonna like blockchain and
change it all
metaverse,
right away.
I think at this point, AI, like GPT-3 came out in fall of 2022.
Good night.
And it was the first time like people at a beta level had access to like a chatbot with AI that wasn't like, your Jaspers and like your content writer AIs.
Yep.
And the pace at which it's being developed at and the integration into everything else is totally different than these other like 3 or 4 things that have been created in the last 5 years. So it's going to have staying power, period, end of story.
Oh, absolutely. We'll see how it integrates with everything. I'm just thinking of like a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, understanding how to get answers and have AI like do its bidding.
Well, yeah, you think about like even just iPhone integrating it into Siri.
I'm excited to see how that plays out. That feels like to me the most because I'm an iPhone user, so I feel like that's potentially the most impactful use of it. Even though we use it all the time with a bunch of stuff, I feel like that
having it just like integrated into every app, every experience, right? Like that. That's where it'll take off, right? You don't have to like log into a certain thing.
Well, there's one thing there's one thing that's not going to be AI. It's going to be actually real people in person generating their own thoughts. Is our webinar today at 2 p.m. Eastern. You go to ASOTUCON.com. Just scroll down so you can register to make sure you can get in and or get the recording afterward. Reawakening your dealership with our friends at Activator. We have Bobby Goudreau, Mike Whitlow from Activator, plus Jake Blair, GM of Tim Dolly Mazda Southtown, talking about strategies to rebuild trust, adapt to new consumer behaviors. That includes consumers expect things now. Also enhancing customer loyalty. You're going to want to,
if you're listening to this, you're going to want to check out this webinar. Like just register for it. Even if you can't attend, it'll get you the recording afterwards. It'll get
heck of a registration list so far, I will say.
Yeah, it's a heck of a registration list. And like the team over at Activator, honestly, even though if you know the Deal Activator of old and you know the Dominion platform, like this team is really a startup and they're savvy. So you're going to want to pay attention to what they're talking about for sure.
Big compliments from Kyle. Also, ASOTU CON Sessions, our short form podcast that came out of ASOTU CON. They are all live now. The one we just released, Single Point of Contact, and a 4-day work week with Erica Tiffany Wells. She's really just throwing some fire as always. As always.
She's on it. Yeah.
But just search ASOTU CON Sessions, download all of them because they're short. You can listen to them while you're walking the dog, taking out the trash, driving to work, whatever. But they are an amazing, amazing variety of podcasts on a variety of topics. Great way to get educated across the broad spectrum and learn a few things about something you think you already know a few things about. You know what I'm saying?
There you go.
All right, let's talk about a few things.
Speaking of things we're learning a few things about.
On the day, on the hour, on the minute. Little update on the CDK outage situation. Obviously, thousands of dealers on the platform are about to enter the second week of the ongoing disruption. The company said there is no resolution expected. This is the update before June 30th. So saying we got this for at least another 4 to 5 days, at least. CEO Brian MacDonald is defending the company's crisis response in an automotive news piece amidst the rising tensions and now some legal challenges already. Basically, he began speaking publicly by asserting the company's proactive engagement with dealers and commitment to supporting them on June 25th, yesterday. CDK wrote, we do feel it's important to share. We don't believe we'll be able to get all dealers live prior to June 30th. I don't know if they think they'll be able to get some dealers live, but are making significant progress. The company emphasized transparency and urged dealers to use their available resource center while encouraging, they did say this, if you're on the platform, you should start making other plans to prepare your financial statements. Something Brian Benstock brought up, like how we're going to generate a financial statement, right? It's not just end of month, end of quarter, half of the year.
The OEMs still expect that financial statement for sure.
They sure do. So basically, and then these two lawsuits have already popped up. I don't know if some people just like have a lawsuit generator waiting.
They're just on it. They're like, actually, they GPT'd a lawsuit. They did. They're like,
you think we're kidding? One filed by a vehicle lessee, Yurig Loganov, on June 22nd. So he's right in on the game, alleging negligence, breach of contract, unjust, and all this stuff. I don't know. I mean, we don't even know what happened yet, but we're alleging things. The second lawsuit filed by former dealership employee Eugene Baraga on June 24th alleges negligence, breach of confidence, contract, etc., violation of California Privacy Act, basically saying his personal or their personal information, I don't know, has been disclosed. So CDK, like we know there's going to be an uphill battle, but been seeing just so much about dealers communicating and like a lot of positive things on process actually.
Yeah, man, I was on the phone with a dealer that is CDK Roadster E-Leads the whole 9 yards yesterday, and they were like, bet we're going to be fine. They already have adjusted processes. They got their team ready. The accounting team is like, bring it on. Let's go. We'll be ready for it. Saw some posts this weekend about people delivering 125 cars.
Let's go.
Saturday with CDK as their DMS. Like
they're like, what?
No problem. No factor, right?
No factor. Good. Jocko. Good. DMS down. Good. I did see a preview of an interview, a CBT interview with Damon Lester and Damian Mills talking about some of this stuff and basically Damian's perspective on this. Damon's too, like they were joking about like, you know, people like using the calculator on their phone, and Damon's like, yo, you need a 10 key. Like, how you adding this on your phone? What happens if you hit a button, right?
There's no way. Yeah.
But talking about keeping the calculator and the pencil a little closer in the future, but also not griping so much when you don't have a single sign-on anymore, when you have to log into multiple platforms. Like totally how that perspective change just gets us in a little bit of a frame of mind, builds some appreciation and a little diversification. So I don't know. I think just like everything, there's going to be a lot of good things coming out of this. It's not over. A lot of people digging into a lot of pain. We still have another wave of pain coming.
My guess, another week on this thing. So still a lot to be worked
and
out.
It's going to be that final rip current wave when the whole accounting team's got to reconcile everything and all the entry happens. Like
right on July 4th. Guarantee it.
Oh no. Let's just break the barbecue grill out early.
Just break it out.
Let's make like July 1st, the 4th. That way the 4th can be a work day. So because it's a Thursday or Wednesday this week. It's just like, I know. Well, speaking of bringing people together.
Stop. Woo. Segue.
Time. You aren't kidding.
This one surprised me. Volkswagen is set to invest up to, get this, $5 billion in Rivian, aiming to strengthen its software unit and support the EV startups' next generation of vehicles. So basically, they're investing $2 billion in a joint software company using Rivian's technology and then purchasing a $3 billion stake in Rivian over the next 3 years. The investment obviously will provide Rivian with much needed capital and cash to launch this new affordable vehicle, this $25,000 vehicle that they were teasing, proving its balance sheet. Obviously, Rivian stock up 30% in aftermarket trading following the announcement. CEO RJ Scaringe emphasized the partnership lowers parts costs. They said basically focused a lot on cost cutting because of this investment, and also said this is going to be the thing that gives them enough cash to get to cash flow positive on their own operation. So that's a big step for this startup.
Huge.
VW is going to be using Rivian software savvy, obviously, to address issues in its software unit, Cariad, which has been facing quality problems for quite a long time. So makes sense.
Yeah, this one makes a ton of sense for me. And also, I just love to see the fact that it's like legacy OEM drops a whole bunch of money on futuristic OEM, stock market goes yay, right?
Yeah.
Like that narrative, like that little sentence, a very simplified version of this gets me all excited. But it's actually back to, Rivian kind of originally had this idea of being the skateboard, right? The kind of thing that everything else that others lived on top of. But I think thinking of these net new companies as software companies as well, because they really have targeted the software over the hardware of the vehicle. And that being like a major selling point is going to, you and I have been talking about this for a while, that these legacy automakers are not software providers. They want to be challenged to be, but they're going to need to tap on people that are better in that arena. And this is I think a really smart partnership for VW. It's also going to give them, they've got that Scout brand. Like it's going to give them a lot of insight on how to build that brand in my estimation.
You look at I feel like the Scout models that I've seen.
Like, look at the two.
Look an awful lot like a Rivian. I mean, they really, really do. They really do. Like you and I were like, hey, Rivian, Apple, get together. Yeah. But I mean, this doesn't get in the way of that. But again, it's a new world we live in, right? And I tell you what, Rivian might be the dark horse that just.
I'm feeling that, especially if they're going cash flow positive this quickly. Woo.
Yeah. People are going to react to that. People are starting to figure it out, figuring out the EV thing.
Yep.
Kind of.
Speaking of figuring out things.
Woo!
Stop. Segue.
Time. Target's going to help their people figure out things because they're introducing get this new GenAI-powered chatbot tool. They're calling it Store Companion. What a clever name. To its nearly 2,000 U.S. stores by August, aiming to do things for their employees like streamline daily tasks, enable coaching, customer assistance for associates. It'll be available on an app on the team members' handheld devices that they currently have, and will serve as a store process expert and coach, aiding in onboarding, especially with new and seasonal staff, which they have to staff up for and get trained up quickly.
That's a big deal.
Here's a note from the press release. For example, team members can input prompts like, how do I sign a guest up for a Target Circle card? And how do I request the cash register, or how do I restart the cash register in the event of a power outage? And then they'll be able to get those instructions and resources in seconds. They've basically taken FAQs, process documents from teams across the nation, embedded it into this tool, and then plan stuff over the next 6 months. So, I mean, I think this.
You said at the beginning, like this is what generative AI is best at.
Yep,
it's best at, and so it makes sense that Target's just implementing this. The seasonal part of it is brilliant because you think of how many people need to be brought up to speed, be onboarded, like just the burden it takes off management to have to answer and have like multiple levels of like supervisory, people in the cashier's lane, in the stock room, in the online checkout. It just lowers that burden, which means they should either be able to do one of two things or both in balance, lower costs and expenses, but they should also be able to spend more time with the consumer and improving consumer experience, which is, I think, what every retailer wants to do. Yeah. I had you've probably done this too. I've been asking Google, this is another story, but like I've been asking Google so much less, way less. I mean, I'm talking 50%.
Perplexity yet?
No.
Perplexity's like
that's the one that Seth Godin likes.
Yeah,
I believe.
Well, and the reason is because it cites every source, and the beauty of it is it's really cool because it cites the source where it kind of like gets the material.
Yep.
But their like tagline is the future of search, right? Because it's this like conversation thing that has source material that refines it and edits it.
Oh, that's a great
clarify. Yeah,
that's a great combination. I mean, and very interesting. I mean, this weekend I have a really old motorcycle, so it means it's broken most of the time. And like I started up for the year and like one of the carbs, it's got carburetors, 4 of them. And one was leaking. And I'm like, I can't ride it now because it's leaking gas. And like, I was like, so I just literally GPT, I was like, I have a 1979 Honda CB750. I just started it up for the year. Carb number 4 is leaking gas. I've tried this and this. What else can I try? And it was like, oh, do this, do this, do this. Cause you think of the vast amount of knowledge on a 1979. And literally it was like rubber mallet, tap on carb 4 while you're working the throttle, this, and I did it. You know what? I fixed it in like a minute.
That's unbelievable.
And then I wrote it. Thank you, GPT.
That's wild. Yeah. I mean, so like if you take this down to why is this important for any retail or any operation, is like, imagine a retail store or retail group has a series of 30 run books or playbooks across the organization for how someone should do their job, right? Training manuals, all that type of stuff. Load that sucker into dealer X, store training manuals in a GPT and enable every single user in your dealership to be able to hit that thing whenever they need training.
It's going to be a new world out there. It is a new world out there. Wait, some things are still the same though. We want to do all these things so we can take care of the people, the consumers, the team members that take care of us. So go out there, keep that at the center, and I think we'll all be just fine.